Excuse number 3. It's not the right time. It's not the right time. Have you ever wanted to start out a project but didn't have the funding or the tools? You needed to put it aside for a moment. I've been in that situation. I've wanted to start things and I've put them aside because I don't have the money. And I'm like, you know what, I'll do it later. And you know what happens later is when I get the money, there are things that need to be done right there and right then. And so a lot of the time, the projects that I put on hold, I shelf and keep shelving because it was not the right time I felt in my spirit. I thought that it's not the right time. So many of us are in that point. You put things aside, you shelf them because you feel it's not the right time. I do not have what I need to do. So I moved on from the things. And sometimes we are like that. We are waiting for all the chips to fall in place so that we can do the thing when it's right. So that's usually our excuse. Verse 13, Jeremiah said, and the word says, and the word of the Lord came to me the second time saying, what do you see? And I said, I see a boiling pot. It is facing away from the north. This is verse 13 of chapter 1. This was not a pleasant message. It was, actually, if you read through the book of Jeremiah, it's a book about the judgment of God because the people were worshiping other gods. It was not a pleasant time. You know, you don't read Jeremiah and you go away feeling like, oh, I'm so happy. It's a book of judgment, impending judgment. So the message for that time, the message that God gave Jeremiah, it didn't feel like a very happy message. God was telling Jeremiah, people are coming from the north to destroy you because the people have not obeyed the Lord. The people are worshiping other gods. And so if I was Jeremiah, I would be like, God, let's put this off a little bit. It's not the right time, the right audience. People are having fun, you know. And so many times we get into those situations. You see people having fun, and you're like, it's not the right time. I will do it at another time. So we put things off for the time when it's right. And God was saying, no. I don't want you to do that. It says, I see a boiling pot, and it's facing from the north, meaning God was going to destroy. But he gives a promise. He gives a promise. In verse 7 and 8, he had made a promise. He said, but the Lord said to me, do not say I am a youth, for you shall go to all whom I send you, and whatever I command you, you shall speak. Do not be afraid of their faces, for I am with you to deliver you, says the Lord. God equipped Jeremiah with boldness for the moment, so that if he stood up to speak, people would listen to him. When I came here, like I said, I was young, I was timid, I could not speak. But God eventually gave me boldness. I'm going to say something about Pastor Ricky, though he's in absentia. But when Pastor Ricky, the first times I ever saw Pastor Ricky here, whenever they were going back to school, they would call them up. By then the pulpit was up here. Pastor Butch would call them up to say something. Don't tell Pastor Ricky, eh? Pastor Butch would call them up here to speak. Everybody would speak. Shannon would always be the first person to jump up to speak. Shane would come up. Mr. Shane would come up and speak. Then the microphone would be passed to Pastor Ricky. And they'd be like, don't have anything. Then he would go away. Bye. That's how he was. He would not say anything. But look at him today. Look how far the Lord has brought him. He stood before people. He stands every week and speaks to people. God has equipped him with boldness to stand. Some of you are like that. To get a word out of you would be easier than getting milk out of a rat. Of course, that example works for Mr. Shane, who doesn't like rats. But some of you, getting a word out of you, you might find it easier to get some, at least, okay, let me change it, from getting it from a cat. Have you ever tried? It's very difficult. I've never. But some of you need boldness. Boldness to stand and say, thus saith the Lord. And God will equip you. God equipped Jeremiah for the task that was ahead. It was not an easy task, but God equipped him. And he didn't just say that. He didn't just stop there. There are two things that we need to understand. Number one, Jeremiah wasn't saying his own things. According to this, Jeremiah wasn't going to come with his own message. He was going to come with the message from the Lord. Secondly, he wasn't going by himself. God says, I will go with you. There are countless times in the Bible where Jesus is saying, where God is telling us, lo, I am with you till the very end of the age. I will never leave you nor forsake you. God is telling us this thing. God is telling us this today. I am with you. Moses said, if your presence doesn't go with us, we shall not leave this place. He understood the importance of the presence of God. And God responded. He said, I will go with you. That is in Exodus 33, verse 15 to 17. So God is telling us, if you feel like it's not the right time, if you feel like it's not, for you to do at this time, just know, I will go with you. I will equip you with boldness.